Well, I'm Vilma Wood. I'm 93 years old. I used to be a housewife. I used to work part-time. And I've got a blank. So that would be in 1944. I've got 4 children. They're all over 60 now. One's only 70.
I'm Eric Wood, 68, almost 69.
Years go by, but when this all started, the youngest was about 7, I think. Yeah, and the eldest was about 14.
When I was 14, that's a long time ago.
When Eric was about 14, he made friends with a couple of boys, brothers, and they started to come around to our house after school.
She actually took them on as pretty well my brothers, and they thought the same, and they still do. So they were coming around, and then they brought one of my other friends or one of their friends around, and then he brought around some of his friends as well.
It gradually grew. There was Robert and Michael and Beatrice and Barbara and Florence and Alan and Barry, and it grew until there was about a dozen of them. And I thought, well, there must be a need for something after school. And I got the idea of a community centre. And then I got a phone call from somebody on the council and suggested that I should make it a youth centre. So we changed it to a youth centre.
There was absolutely nothing for teenagers in that general area except for the school or sports things.
We formed a little committee thing. I got some signatures and we did some fundraising.
We tried to get the council interested, but they weren't. And there was certainly plenty of places around where something could have been built, lots of open, vacant space. But the council wasn't interested, so my mother just tried to raise money for something and put it in the bank.
My husband, Kevin, was able to get Coke and Fanta at work at a cheap price. So he used to bring that home. The kids, if they wanted to buy a drink, they would buy it, and that profit from that would go aside. Michael and I did some car washing at what used to be the Caltex garage, the old Caltex garage. We used to go out in groups. We used to go out on outings. Some of the things we went to were, it was put, you call that what it put? Mini golf, anyway, at Mitcham Park. A few of us used to go there of a night, and one day we went to some motorbike thing. I don't know what it was. I wasn't interested, but the boys were interested in this motorbike thing. And Rowena, our daughter, who was about 7 at the time, Rowena and I went around and collected empty cans. So that's the way we did our fundraising. And this one here says Youth Centre is Woman's Goal, and it talks about some of the things that I had in mind. I visualised a 2-storey building, not immediately just a coffee shop, but I visualised a 2-storey building with the centre open and a balcony around the first floor and sports on the ground floor and an art room and a library room, different rooms for different things. And this shows myself and my husband and one of our sons and our daughter playing Monopoly. And this here is saying much the same thing. But this girl here, she lived at Bedford Park. I don't think she came around after school, but I think she was just interested in having a youth centre. And so she started to help us. And that's my son, Stephen, again. And that's Michael, one of the first boys that came around. And we still get visits from Michael and Robert occasionally. And I got this card from Robert saying thank you and how much he loved us. And it was the mum and dad that was always on hand. Yes, I cherish it. He says, I love you. And I can remember most of these that came around. I can't remember all their names, but I can remember most of them. Well, it brings people together. When I first got the idea, there were a lot of parents were working. They used to be called latchkey kids. So when they got home from school, they had to let themselves in. And some of them that came around were latchkey kids. Their parents were working. Not all of them, but some of them were. Some of them just like to have the contact with each other after school.
Because of the people that were coming around, it also expanded my brother's friendships as well, because they got to meet people that they wouldn't have met before. And especially my youngest brother, he was 4 years younger than me. So some of my friends became his friends and some of his friends became my friends, which probably wouldn't have happened without that house connection. I would assume the same sort of thing would be happening with the community centre, because people would meet that wouldn't normally meet.
The lounge that they came in was bare floor, a couple of pieces of old furniture and an old sideboard. The house wasn't really furnished.
Orange vinyl lounge suite, horrible thing. Nothing fancy.
So it wasn't luxury that they came in for. And there were times if Kevin or I wanted a cup of coffee, we had to look around for a mug. And they used to just help themselves and make themselves a cup of coffee.
We'd go through a big jar of coffee every couple of days. Just it was getting expensive just to pay for the coffee.
And one of the boys I taught to drive, and Michael there, I taught him how to make a cake. So it was, I enjoyed it, and they enjoyed it.
There was a little bit of a friendship base, but it was not like friends. They were just all acquaintances. We all became friends, better than being on the street. Just sat around and talked, drank coffee.
I made them feel at home, probably, because they just walk in the door. And Eric likes music.
That's around about the time I started learning to play guitar, and yeah, there were some of the other guys that came around were also learning as well. So with hide amplifiers, and we're on the front veranda. We had everything up full blast.
And some of them lived at Kernite Gardens heard this noise, and he got on his bike, come down to see where the noise was. And it was Eric playing the guitar at our house. And then he started to just walk in. He became one of the group. So it just kept on growing. And I thought, well, it can't keep on growing at our house. So there must be a need. But then they got older and went on with their other interests and things. And
then after a while, it just all slipped away.
Then some people were afraid that it would bring the wrong people into the area. And so it all fizzled out. But I had some money in the bank. I thought, well, it's not my money. It's been raised for the community centre. So I left it in the bank.
It finished up just getting put in trust for later.
And then one day I saw that there was going to be a community centre at Pasadena.
It made my head explode, to be honest.
That's
my
wonderful.
wildest dream, because we just needed somewhere where we could get together and be neighbourly.
Oh, I'm so happy too. Thank you very much, Mitcham Council.
And I thought, well, Pasadena's not far from Panorama.
Oh, she rang me up and said that it's finally happened. Yes, she said, finally, it's here. It's only taken 50 years.
So I rang up the council and said I had $400, and it was eventually used for a sewing machine, I think.
The money was still there. It was just nice that it suddenly actually had a use for it again. Me and that one of the other original guys was a co-signer for this. And I must admit, after seeing the building as it is, it's a good repurpose of a Sea Scouts. Great building. There's lots of potential.
Insulation, solar panels, open all hours so it's free for people to come in, and a variety of things for people to do, and a computer room for those people who like to fiddle around with the computer. I'm not a computer person, but I know other people are, and I know there's some people that would like to learn how to use a computer, so somebody could teach them how to use it. It cater for all ages. I also think that people should raise money towards it. Like when Eric and Stephen were small, I made a little waistcoat and short pants suit for each of them. And Stephen's was made out of a pair of Kevin's old pants, and Eric's was made out of a man's old suit coat. And that could be done now. There's a lot of talk these days about recycling. Adults' clothes can be cut down into children's clothes. So there's lots of ways that we do fundraising. I don't think you should depend on the council and the government altogether. There's lots of possibilities.
I'm Nadia Clancy, Labor's candidate for Elder.
And I'm Pete Malinauskas, and we're incredibly excited to be announcing that if Labor forms government, we're going to fund the redevelopment of the Pasadena Community Centre.
I went through all this. I liked it all, but there was one page I couldn't quite follow. But I agreed with most of what it said, all the different possibilities.
With this very connected world, seems to be a lot of emptiness. We're not as connected as we should be. Physical connection that makes a difference. And doing things together.
But I'd like to come to the chat and coffee for a start. See, the language thing that they had the other day, I would like to have gone to that. Playing like Scrabble or something here, I mean, we enjoyed that. Sewing things, I'd like to be involved with the sewing, but I can't sew these days. I'd like to be involved with it. The choir, I'd like to be involved with that. And there's quite a few things that I thought, I'd like to go to that. Oh, I'd like to go to that. but unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to make much use of the centre now because times don't suit me and I've got other appointments and things. But it's interesting to see what's happening in it.
So Vilma Wood, you're a delight to Mitcham. We're so lucky to have you as a resident here.
I'm flattered. I'd like to know how to sell things on Facebook. But I don't even know how to use Facebook, so